Hi, everybody. This is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are January's horoscopes for the sign of Aries. So you can check out these horoscopes if you're an Aries rising or if you're an Aries sun sign. I typically recommend that people look at the sign that matches with your rising sign. The reason for this is that the rising sign will match up with the way that your birth chart is laid out, especially if you happen to use whole sign houses, it will be exact. But even if you're using like Placidus or some other quadrant-based form of house division, it's going to be pretty close to the way that your actual chart is matching or syncing up with the current transits. So at any rate, that's just something to think about. Here is your chart. You should be able to see it on the screen now. There are a lot of transits this month moving through the sign of Capricorn. So let me just kind of illustrate those for you first. You'll notice that on the beginning of the month, today, January 1st, the Sun and Saturn are getting together in a conjunction. This is then followed, if we move forward just a little bit, on January 5th, you're going to see a coming into a new moon solar eclipse in Capricorn. That is then followed on January 11th by a January 10th into the 11th by a Sun Pluto conjunction again in Capricorn. And then you can also see that not long before that, like on the 8th, Mercury has squared Mars. Mercury in Capricorn square to Mars. And then on the 12th to the 13th, thereabouts, you're going to see Mercury get into a conjunction with Saturn in Capricorn. So, you know, it's a big month of Capricorn stuff that's going on, basically. So, oops, your chart slid out of alignment there. But a lot of planets moving through Capricorn, a lot of major alignments in Capricorn, what to speak of a new moon solar eclipse in Capricorn to start the month. Remember now that you're getting eclipses in your 10th house in the sign of Capricorn for over a year to come. Saturn, ruler of Capricorn, came into your 10th house in December of 2017. It's there to stay for a couple of years. It's moving into a conjunction with Pluto in the year ahead. A lot of 10th house emphasis. What does that mean? It means that right now is a time of extraordinary change for you professionally. That's the career house, the 10th house, and a house that's generally associated with authority figures, the public, your public reputation. And so sometimes that means that your responsibility or workload in the world is increasing. You're changing directions professionally. You're dealing with different kinds of pressure in the workplace, different kinds of growth and development, maturing and kind of aging and taking on more, becoming more masterful at what you do, all kind of Capricorn 10th house themes. Now, this month, this is also, this theme is sort of made even more potent by the fact that your ruling planet Mars has just entered your first house. You're really feeling empowered this month. A lot more sort of giddy up when Mars is in your home sign in your first house. Uranus, planet of great change and revolution, is turning direct after a long period of being retrograde, turning direct in your home sign in first house this week, first week of the month. So there's a feeling of personal empowerment and change, maybe turning a corner, maybe feeling the desire to initiate something. A lot of cardinal energy in the air right now too. And it's probably tied in very closely to something professional or public, something to do with your authority in the world, and maybe even changing directions professionally as big as that. And if not now, perhaps in the months and year to come, because again, a lot of energy moving through there over the weeks and months of the first half of the year. And then again, by the time we get around to Cancer season, there'll be eclipses again in the summer, and then next winter, same thing. So a lot of emphasis right there right now. The other thing is, eventually eclipses will be falling in your fourth house, which is the house of home and family. So you've got a lot of cardinal areas of your life sort of getting lit up right now. A lot of things are going to change. Your home, family, parents, sense of identity, self, purpose, job, work, profession, calling. Big year with eclipses falling in such a cardinal house. So the other thing that's happening this month that I'm really keeping my eye on is January 13th, you're going to see, January 12th, 13th, you're going to see Jupiter in your ninth house of faith, higher learning, spirituality, religion, making a square to Neptune in the 12th house, which is a house that's associated with isolation, imprisonment, self-destructiveness, sort of liminal spaces, or places where you're in between, kind of not quite tethered to reality. Can be both very spiritual and mystical places. Might be a lot of growth happening right now. Not all of it will be easy. Some of it may, kind of invite deeper introspection. There's a lot of growth with Jupiter in the ninth house, doing things that have to do with spirituality, religion, higher education, maybe long journeys to other parts of the world. But the 12th house will bring in that sort of shadow element. Can be a transit that grows you spiritually, that grows your compassion, your heart, your faith, but also takes you inward in ways that aren't always completely easy. And that's part of that 12th house signature. Now, on January 21st, you're going to find that there is a lunar eclipse in the sign of Leo in your fifth house. That lunar eclipse is the last of a long series of eclipses you've been getting in the signs of Leo and Aquarius. This one falls in your fifth house. It has a lot to do with creativity and joy and happiness. It has also a connection to children and pregnancy. So these topics are going to be very sort of amplified because of the eclipse in the fifth house. There can be deeper exploration of what is bringing you creative fulfillment and what isn't. Also, sometimes questions of whether or not the path that you are walking is kind of authentic to who you are. There's the feeling of the fifth house sometimes is the, marching to the beat of your own drum, that there's a creative pulse in each of us that takes joy and sort of celebrates life because we're doing our thing. I think of the fifth house that way. Sometimes eclipses in this house can just have a way of being like a gut check. Are you walking your path? Are you really in your heart about what you're doing? So watch for that around the 21st. And then the 22nd, you're going to have a Venus, I won't put it up, but you'll have Venus and Jupiter getting together in the ninth house. That's a really auspicious transit. It sort of has a feeling of grand adventure, romance, travel, learning, finding fellow seekers, finding teachers and mentors. Kind of has a goddess kind of romantic Venus feeling to it, but Jupiter makes it all bigger. Be a little bit careful of things like extravagance or overindulgence around that time, but it's a great transit in the ninth house for finding beauty and truth and auspicious connections in a house that's associated with the search for truth. So I like this month for you, Aries. I think it looks pretty good to start the year. It's a lot of 10th house focus, as I mentioned earlier. I'd love to hear from you guys, hear how it goes. And stay tuned for more in February. And I hope you have a very beautiful opening to 2019. Take care.